A big hello and welcome to all our viewers joining us for this extremely special live cricketing discussion that we have lined up on the menu on our One Play Sports India pages. The topic that's going to be discussed today will pertain to a comparison between the Indian team that was victorious in the 1985 World Championship of Cricket and Kohli's current Indian team. And you might be thinking, why this topic? We didn't just pick this topic out of thin air. There's a significance as to why we picked this topic. If you've been following the news that's been doing the rounds in the world of sports, especially in the world of cricket, you may have come across this quote from Ravi Shastri where he actually compared the 1985 World Championship team that he was a part of to Kohli's current squad, saying that that team in 1985 would give any other Indian side a run for its money, including Kohli's team, but not just including Kohli's team, also including the 1983 World Cup winning Indian side. So we at One Play Sports thought that why not bring together a group of experts to perhaps put this matter to bed and have a civil discussion talking about which team is better, or perhaps it's unfair to perhaps compare teams belonging to two different generations. So we have a mouth-watering list of panelists lined up for you for this chat, starting with Mr. Chetan Sharma, and I will be adding them to the stream one by one. Hi, Mr. Sharma.
Hi, how are you, Anubhav?
Doing
all is well.
All is well, sir. Hope all is well with you as well. Mr. Chetan Sharma was, of course, a part of the team that played in the 1985 World Championship, featured in the final as well, had very economic figures of 7 overs, 1 for 17 with 1 maiden in that final, and also picked up a very impressive catch on the boundary line of Salim Malik. Next on the list, I have Mr. Yajurvindra Singh, who played for India in the late 1970s and is also the co-holder of 2 Test fielding records, picking up 5 catches in an innings in a Test match, the most number of catches in an innings, and 7 for the match overall. And to make it even more impressive, he achieved that feat on debut for Team India, playing in a Test match for India. And we also have, last but not the least, Mr. Ayaz Memon, journalist, columnist, commentator, editor-in-chief here at One Play Sports, a journalist with over 40 years of experience, also nicknamed the Silver Fox, a nickname given to him by Ravi Shastri, जिनके comment के बिना आज ये discussion नहीं हो रहा होता. Lovely, gentlemen. So we're all set. So as everyone knows, the topic of discussion is going to be a comparison between the 1985 team that was triumphant in the World Championship of Cricket that took place in Australia and the current squad of Virat Kohli. And I am just going to reiterate the quote that was made by Ravi Shastri recently. And Ravi had said the team of 1985 will give any team that India puts up in white ball cricket a run for their money. I go one step ahead and say the team of 1985 was a stronger team compared to that which won the World Cup in 1983. Mr. Chetan Sharma, I'm going to start with you since you were a part of the team that won the World Championship. You were only 19 years. You didn't play for the first half of the tournament, but you did feature in the final. As I mentioned, you had very impressive figures when you were bowling, picked up a sharp catch as well. When you first read this quote from Ravi Shastri, what was your initial reaction? Agreement? Were you questioning it? Was it thought-provoking? What was your first reaction to it?
You're always happy about things like this. अगर आपको एक current Indian coach Ravi Shastri का ऐसा quote आता है, he's saying that 85 is one of the best, even better than 83 and the current Indian side in white ball cricket. तो कहते हैं ना कि नेकी और पूछ क्या प्रॉब्लम है अगर कोई आप कह रहे हैं कि you are part and parcel of one of the best team in the country, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, मुझे तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आप उन सभी टीम्स को बेस्ट कह सकते हैं जो मैं मैचेस खेला हूँ. अयाज एंड यजविंदर सर इस समय लाइन पे है, तो क्रिकेटर वोंट माइंड कि आप उस टीम में शामिल हैं जिसके अंदर आप कह रहे हैं one of the best sides. देखिए वो आपने बिल्कुल अनुभव ठीक बात बोली कि you can't compare the generation thing, but the current coach is saying something. Why not agree to that? तो इसमें गलत क्या है? तो मैं तो agree कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि current coach क्या है? Because current coach was the part and parcel of 85 and he was man of the series, got Audi, और उस जमाने में Audi के ऑडी तो स्पेलिंग हमें नहीं आते थे. ऑडी तो देखी नहीं थी हमने, और जैसे ऑडी मिली सारी दुनिया भर के अब कार के स्पाइक्स कुछ मार के सारे उस कार के ऊपर आए थे. It was a good time, good series for all of us.
And Mr. Singh, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to first pose the same question to you. I have a second part as well to the question, but would love to hear your thoughts on what your initial reaction was when you first read that comment.
Yeah, I quite accept what Ravi Shastri said. As a matter of fact, believe it or not, I was heading Wisden in 2002. I was the managing director, and we had the Indian Cricketer of the Century. And in that, one of the awards was for the best one-day side of the century. And we had not taken the 1983 side; we gave it to the 1985 side. So we already had sort of considered the 1985 side as one of the best sides that India had at that stage. And I quite agree with him. And naturally, we'll have a lot of dialogue over it. But even if you compare it not only to the, let's say, the present side, but even to the 2011 World Cup winning side, I would say they would be very much in the same level or much above. Maybe. So I'm very much for it, and I agree with Ravi in the statement.
And a follow-up question for you before I ask my first question to Ayaz. You, of course, were a gun fielder during your time. On debut, broke two records or co-holded two records. One of the most number of catches in one innings, which is 5, and then most number of catches in a Test match of 7. Right. In terms of fielding, right? Sunny Gavaskar had a quote in June 2019 where he actually said that the fielding side in 1985 was much better compared to the fielding standards of the current Indian side. Is that a sentiment that you would agree with?
I can agree to one thing: that catching was better, definitely. And well, fielding wise, I mean, yes, the ninth, even present side uh, are much fitter for the one day, what you would say, the limited overs cricket. But in Test cricket, I think the close-in fielding is needs a lot of improvement. So I quite agree with Gavaskar. And remember those fantastic 3 catches in 1983 close in at slips is what made us win the World Cup as well. So, and here as well in 1985, I think there were some very good catches initially taken in the first Pakistan match, if I remember. So, fielding always, catches win matches. So I quite agree with Sunil as well.
Ayaz, you of course did write a couple of pieces recently. One of them being titled "The 1985 Champions Were a Crack Combination," and then you went on to substantiate your claim. But for the sake of the viewers, tell us: is this a case of perhaps wallowing in nostalgia? Is this a case of looking at the past with rose-tinted glasses? Or is this perhaps Ravi being bombastic, being pompous? Or is there some element of truth in what Ravi said?
No, there's a bit of everything. But the fact is, Anubhav, that was a fantastic team. Now, let me explain it to you very quickly. One is, in that tournament where there were no minnow teams, there was no East Africa or Zimbabwe or some other team. There were all the regular ICC frontline teams. India did not lose a single match. Beat Pakistan twice, despite the pressure of an Indo-Pak match. And look at it this way. I see it this way in a sense of a continuum. In 1983, we won the World Cup against all odds, unexpectedly, in England, against the West Indies, right? In 84, we won the Asia Cup in Sharjah. In 85, we won the World Championship of Cricket in Australia. And then went back to Sharjah and won the Rothmans Cup. 4 titles within what? 1.5 years or 1 year and 9 months in different parts of the world, more or less the same combination. Barring the 83 World Cup when players like Sandeep Patil, Kirti Azad, Sunil Walson, even Syed Kirmani made way. But a lot of youngsters came in. Chetan Sharma, Mohammad Azharuddin, L. Sivaramakrishnan, Sadanand Vishwanath, which actually improved the ground fielding a lot and the outfielding a lot. But the consistency with which this team won these tournaments tells me that not only was it a terrific, one-day team, it was probably the best one-day team playing international cricket at that point in time, including the West Indies. Because remember, we had beaten the West Indies in a bilateral series. They thumped us in 1983 after the World Cup. But in a tournament, in the World Championship of Cricket, India beat very good teams, all of them frontline teams. And I think that What worked was the combination, the blend of experience and youth, the combination that we had in the batting and the bowling, the spinners, the pace bowlers, all of it just contributed enormously. And I'll tell you, the interesting part is that in the period between 1982 and 86, and this was a little before Chetan Sharma started playing, and one of the series where he made a huge impact in Test cricket was 86 England. Between 1982 and 1986, ironically, India did not win a single Test series. It just kept winning one-day tournaments. They did not win a single Test series between 82 and 86 England, including those played at home. So what it shows to me is that for that phase, suddenly Indian cricket, which was considered the dull dogs of international cricket, especially in limited overs, in the limited overs format, just came into its own. An assembly of good talent, good captaincy, and even funnily, the captaincy changed hands between Gavaskar and Kapil Dev. Kapil Dev was captain in 1983 in the World Cup, and he was captain in the 1985 Rothmans Cup. Gavaskar was captain for Asia Cup, and Gavaskar was captain for World Championship of Cricket. It didn't seem to make a difference. Otherwise, normally when captaincy changes, you'll find tension in the dressing rooms, tugs and pulls, power centers, etc., etc. It didn't matter a whit. This team just kept on winning tournaments. That's why I think it was a fantastic team.
Absolutely fantastic. Now that we have the initial thoughts of all of you, why don't we perhaps get into the weeds? Ayaz, you spoke about the 1985 squad being a perfect blend of youth as well as experience. That's the phrase you used, right? So why don't we perhaps pull up the squad? I think you will all be able to see the squads side by side. So we have the 1985 squad on the left, the 14-man squad, and then the 2019 World Cup squad that we can perhaps use as a proxy for Team India's current squad. Chetan, I'm going to ask you this question. Walk me through the squad. What was special about it? Why do you think this combination that you see on the left-hand side made for such a spectacular combination?
Anubhav, what Ravi Shastri said, because I still feel what he has in mind. Because अगर आप regular बात करो, when you're talking about the team combination, 2019 we were talking about the team combination. We were struggling with all-rounders. Because जो रवि के दिमाग में बात रही होगी ये बोलने से पहले कि 1985 was one of the best teams. Because आप देखिए how many all-rounders were there. आप कपिल देव की बात करें, आप मदन लाल की बात करें, और रॉजर बिनी वहां पर थे. Even शिवराम कृष्ण was not a bunny, शिवराम बहुत अच्छे रन्स बनाए हैं. और पीछे जाके मतलब हम जैसे लोग भी बल्ला बल्ला चला लेते थे जब भी मौका मिलता था. तो जब आपके पास 5-5, 6-6 और इवन रवि शास्त्री वाज ऑलराउंडर, तो तीन तो जो सारे मैचेस खेले, हम टॉकिंग अबाउट रॉजर बिनी, मदन लाल, कपिल देव, रवि शास्त्री, एंड डोंट फॉरगेट उस समय मोहम्मद अजहरुद्दीन रेगुलर गेंदबाजी करते थे, 10-10 ओवर डालते थे अपने उसके अंदर. तो अगर 11 के अंदर विकेट कीपर के साथ मिला के 5 ऑलराउंडर्स हैं आपके पास और 5 बैट्समैन हैं, इससे बढ़िया टीम आपके पास क्या होगी. तो आई थिंक सो दैट इज द पॉइंट which Ravi is talking about, because आज के समय में what we are struggling is all rounders. हम लोग बहुत कोशिश कर रहे हैं. Even 2019 अंबते रायडू को 2 साल ट्राई करते करते लास्ट मिनट में झटका दिया और विजय शंकर को हम लेके गए because we were worried कि हमारे पास all rounders नहीं. तो वो एक चिंता दिखा रही है टीम मैनेजमेंट की all rounders नहीं आ रहे हैं. देखिए वो तो आएंगे जब आना होगा उनको. सडन ऐसे चेंजेस में कुछ आपको अच्छे ऑलराउंडर्स नहीं मिलेंगे. लेकिन 85 जो अयाज सर ने अभी बात की, आप उन 83 को छोड़ के और सारे टूर्नामेंट्स में मैं था, तो आपके पास बहुत अच्छी ऑलराउंडर्स थे उस समय, और पीछे बैकअप में भी ऑलराउंडर्स लगातार आपको आ रहे थे. ऐसे तो दैट इज द रीजन उस समय की टीम की अगर आप बात करते हैं कि अच्छी है, कि आपके पास कंफर्टेबल मतलब कंफर्ट जोन बहुत अच्छा था. मतलब अगर आप उस टूर्नामेंट में देखें कि सनी भाई ओपन नहीं कर रहे थे उसमें. सनी भाई वाज बैटिंग एट नंबर 5, एंड समटाइम इफ यू गो थ्रू द स्कोर कार्ड्स, इवन कपिल पाजी सनी भाई के ऊपर आए हैं बैटिंग करने के लिए 2 मैचेस 3 मैचेस के अंदर. तो ही केम एट नंबर 5, कपिल केम एट नंबर 5 टू बैट. ही गॉट 50 ऑट आल्सो प्ले के एक मैच के अंदर. तो आप ये सोचिए कि अगर कैप्टन ऑफ द टीम थिंक्स कि मेरा ऑलराउंडर मेरे से अच्छा बैट्समैन है, मतलब अगर सुनील गावस्कर ये सोच रहे हैं कि कपिल देव को मैं भेजूंगा मतलब ही इज देयर। तो आप सोचिए कहाँ तक आप बैटिंग करते हैं, पूरी बॉलिंग है आपके पास, 6-7 बॉलर्स के साथ आप गेंदबाजी कर रहे हैं। तो यही एक कंफर्ट चाहिए किसी भी कप्तान को कि अगर मेरा एक बॉलर फेल हो गया, आई हैव समबडी टू जिसके ऊपर मैं बैंक कर जाऊं। तो आई थिंक सो दैट वाज द मेन रीजन जो रवि शास्त्री के दिमाग में रही होगी ये बात।
Absolutely. And Mr. Singh, that's a good segue to my
Yeah.
next question for you.
Can I continue on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Go on.
Because I agree with Chetan totally. You had top 5 all-rounders, but forget all that. You had one of the greatest all-rounders, world all-rounder in your midst, and that was Kapil Dev. And because of his capabilities, I don't think any team can be compared without him being there. So when you say the present team lacks a Kapil Dev, because you have all-rounders, yes, Mohinder and Madan Lal and everybody did well, but then you didn't have the caliber of Kapil Dev. That is, he was a world class all rounder, what you could say. And to have him in both 83 or 85 side, it automatically enhanced the 85 team to that extent where you can't compare. Now look at it at the present moment. The first 6 batsmen who bat for India cannot bowl. So, you don't have anybody to bowl. You have batsmen who cannot bowl. And they're missing a true all-rounder. And Kapil was a person of Kapil's character, capability was there. Can you imagine how well it would have done? And the second factor, which I want to even emphasize on, is more than look at uh, they were all bits and pieces players. When the team was, you didn't depend on who was going to bat at number 4. If the and lots of the tournaments, the first 4 batsmen failed. Then you had, like Chetan said, 5, 6, and 7. You had Mohinder and Gavaskar and Venksaker. Somebody or the other would chip in, and you had a whole load of batsmen who could do this feat. And that is, I think, the very prominent differences between the two sides, and that's why I consider the 1985 side very much, like Ayaz said, an all-round side, and their performances, if you see, they did so well because of that, because they always had somebody. Even look at Roger Binney. He got injured, I think, and Chetan played the final.
Right.
And he came and bowled so well. And not only that, if Chetan was not there, there was Manoj Prabhakar to back him up. So, you always had somebody of that caliber to come back and take a position of somebody who got injured. And I think those were all the reasons that the 1985 side, I consider it even today as one of the best Indian sides ever.
Ayaz, I think you're itching to make a point. Go on.
Yeah, I'm making 2 points. One is that in today's team, we actually have bowlers who can't bat. Your last 4 are contributing virtually nothing in terms of runs, which was not the case with the 1985 team. I think Sunny has highlighted that. So as Chetan said, he himself could bat a bit. He's modest about it, but he could bat extremely well. The other thing which I want to make, the point I want to make is ultimately, the worth of a team is known by the titles they win. We can have a great team on paper, great balance, great depth, great this, great that. But if it doesn't win, then I'm sorry, it's not a great team. And this team won. So the comparison with the 2009, if the 2019 team had won the World Cup, yes, I would say then we have to look at it in a different light. And I'm not being, harsh on Virat Kohli's team. It's a fact of life. They lost in the semi-finals. So I think, and as I mentioned earlier, this team more or less, barring the core of the team remained the same for 4 titles, barring the 83 World Cup where 4 players then made way for the 4 youngsters or 5 youngsters who came into the team, which actually made the team much better when you look at it in terms of fielding, in terms of depth, overall depth, in terms of energy. And they won title after title after title. Now that to me is the hallmark of why do we say that Australia were a great team in the 1990s and early 2000s, or West Indies in the 70s and 80s? Because they just kept winning wherever they played. So likewise, this Indian team, actually, when you look at it, I don't think any team in international cricket has a record like this, barring perhaps Australia in the 1990s, when more and more, they won 3 World Cup titles on the trot, or the West Indies won the first 2. But for an Indian team to win 4 titles between 83 and 85, mid 85 or early 85, was absolute. You have to transport yourself into that time and era to imagine the impact it had on the sport in India, on the minds of the Indian followers. We had never seen night cricket colored clothing till these guys went to Australia and played in that tournament. To watch it even on television was an experience. To see an Indian team wearing it and excelling and winning the tournament was, it was mind-boggling. So that's the impact that this team had.
Absolutely. Mr. Singh, you wanted to make a point, I believe?
Yeah, exactly what Ayaz said. Is this was the first time when you look at it, what one-day cricket was all about, because field restrictions came in, colored both white balls came in, and there were 2 white balls. Yeah, what's it, Chetan? If I'm not right, both there were 2 white balls. Field restriction. It's exactly what present one-day cricket is all about. So 83 was with the red ball, but 85 was when it was the start of the new era of cricket as a one day international. So it was quite interesting that the Indian team was able to adapt so quickly and be winners in a format which was new to everybody. As such, Australia, some of the players had played, or at least seen how it had taken place, night cricket. As they said, big boys played at night. So our big boys started playing at night at the end of it. So I thought
Mr. Sharma, yeah, exactly. I'm going to pick up a point that you mentioned, Mr. Singh. You spoke about the caliber of Kapil Dev, right? You said that team had Kapil Dev. Mr. Sharma, आपके लिए question है. We spoke about the balance and the depth of the side, right? Now, let me point out that in the Asia Cup in Sharjah in 1984, India won the tournament without Kapil Dev, right? We spoke about the caliber of Kapil Dev, but unke bina bhi, we still won the Asia Cup in Sharjah in 1984. Current team mein, if you were to take out someone like a Virat Kohli, right, who's as instrumental, as monumental for the current side as Kapil Dev was for the 1985 side, right? Would we still have the caliber to win a major tournament without a Virat Kohli, just like the 1985 side won that major tournament, the Asia Cup, without Kapil Dev?
Difficult to say. I don't think so, because Virat Kohli का टीम से बाहर निकलना means टेंशन I don't know टीम में क्या टेंशन होगी, but अगर हम स्टूडियोज में बैठे हैं या कमेंट्री पैनल में बैठे हैं, डेफिनेटली ये लेके बैठे हैं यार आज मैच जीतेंगे कैसे. 84 में कपिल पाजी नहीं थे. He was not on the ground, but he was in the commentary box. He was going for his knee operation to US.
Correct.
तो उस समय मुझे याद है कि मैं अपना पहला टूर था मेरा वो दुबई का एशिया कप, और थोड़ा obviously you are nervous, and as Kapil Paji, you are like belong to same place, is like a mentor to me, and he is a mentor, and सारा कुछ करता, तो थोड़ा घबराहट थी पाकिस्तान के साथ मैच खेलना. उससे पहले आप पाकिस्तान के साथ कभी कोई मैच नहीं खेले थे. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर शाम को होटल के अंदर जो 5-7-10 मिनट, तो पाजी बहुत कम बोलते हैं, लोग बोलते हैं कपाजी कम बोलते हैं, बट हम लोग जब कमरे में है तो बातचीत करके पीछे पड़ जाते हैं हम लोग, क्योंकि बिकॉज हमें सीखना है. तो कैसे गेंदबाजी करनी है इन दैट प्रेशर, एक तरफ पूरा स्टैंड पाकिस्तान का, दूसरी तरफ इंडियन स्टैंड. तो हमें पहली बार फील हो रहा था मुझे कि मैं भी कपिल पाजी के बिना ग्राउंड पे उतरूंगा और दूसरी तरफ से कोई और गेंदबाजी कर रहा होगा. लेकिन आज जो क्वेश्चन आपने पूछा कि विराट कोहली टीम से बाहर हो जाए, तो ऐसा लगेगा कि मैं बिना शर्ट के किसी कमेंट्री बॉक्स के अंदर जा रहा हूँ. तो डेफिनेटली विराट कोहली, आई कांट इवन थिंक कि विराट कोहली नहीं है, आगे क्या होगा. अभी रोहित कुछ मैचों में नहीं थे, तब हमें टेंशन आ गई थी इतनी बड़ी. तो विराट नहीं होंगे, और विराट और रोहित दो एक थंब है, कहते हैं पिलर है जिसके ऊपर भारतीय टीम खड़ी है.
Ayaz, go on.
Yeah. Anubhav, I just wanted to make the point. See, I'm sure this is true of Sunny as well as Chetan. The idea is that he's not undermining the current team. It's a fantastic team. I mean, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are all-time great players. Rohit certainly in the limited overs and the white ball cricket. Virat across all formats. Rohit is coming into his own even in Test cricket. They've got some really good, talented players. Ravindra Jadeja is there. Some of the Ayar, the young man Ayar is shaping up extremely well. Shikhar Dhawan, when he was going well, he looked extremely good. So it's not to undermine, but the point is that in a team sport like cricket, the combination has to be right, and they need to gel over a period of time. A tournament can last 2-3 weeks, sometimes even a month. To sustain, that kind of compatibility on the field over that long period is always a challenge in any team sport. For a team to do it successfully over 2 years, that's my argument repeatedly, that there was great understanding. It evolves, it develops. It's not that players will not have differences amongst themselves. Of course, they are human beings. But when you get onto the field, how you sync those other differences and play together as a strong unit, wanting to win and knowing how to win, that really is the big difference. That makes the difference, according to me. And that's why I think India's two best triumphs in limited overs cricket have been the 1983 World Cup and the 1985 Benson Hedges tournament, because both came away from India, not in home conditions where players are, far better equipped to tackle those conditions and those situations. That's why I think that this team rates extremely highly. Now, if you look at it on paper, the records of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma and some of the others are far ahead of these players because they played far more. They are playing in the modern era, fielding restrictions, etc., etc. Things have changed. You can't do, a like for like comparison in that sense. You have to do a comparison of the combination and of the results, and then you will get a better understanding of what these guys achieved in '85.
Yeah.
Mr. Singh?
Yeah, I quite agree with Ayaz. And that's the main thing about this 85 side, 83, 85. All these all-rounders had the tenacity to be able to take bowl continuously. Not only that, they hardly got injured, and they could travel as well. And they were very good athletes. What we forget is each one of them, Mohinder, Madan, whether it's Kapil, they were all, Chetan himself, they were all very good athletes. You never found them like today. If you see us, it's only in the finals, even of that 85, that there was one change which took place. Otherwise, the same combination kept on playing, and they could play in and out every day of their life. They were very fit cricketers. Maybe they bowled a lot, and we don't find that today in the present lot of people. There's always some injury. There's always somebody who was injured, and the whole combination goes all haywire. Here, some of the other, they did. I don't know what they did. Maybe they ate well, or they drank a lot of milk, as they did in Haryana. But they remained bowling. I've played with all of them. On the first ball that they bowled till the last ball in the evening and the next morning as well, they showed no sort of tiredness. If you thought that as a batsman you could get these perhaps tired, no, because afternoon they'd come and bowl a similar spell. And I think that tenacity and that sort of thing that they had, the stamina, the fitness, is what I think is what got them the victory.
And we spoke about a lot of merits of the side in the mid 1980s, early 1980s, right? We spoke about a good balance of youth as well as experience. We spoke about the balance of the squad. We spoke about the depth of the squad. We spoke about an ambitious mindset, an aggressive mindset that's needed to actually win at the big stage. What were perhaps some of the chinks in the armor? Because if you look at Kohli's current side, right, or at least the side that played in the 2019 World Cup, you could say that solid top order, right? Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, Virat Kohli, a very good bowling lineup, but the middle order was somewhat weak, right? So if you had to perhaps look back at the 1985 team, what were some of the chinks in the armor that we haven't quite talked about right now? Mr. Sharma, since you were part of the team.
Yeah, definitely. जैसे युजवेंद्र सर अभी बात कर रहे थे कि there was just one change in the team, and that not because of the injury. Because मुझे अभी तक याद है कि टीम मीटिंग मैच से पहले होती थी before we go to the ground, day night games. तो टीम मीटिंग में सब लोग पहुंचे और मैं क्योंकि उस टीम में यंगस्टर्स बहुत थे, अब हम लोग खेल नहीं रहे थे, तो आई स्टिल रिमेंबर इट वाज माइसेल्फ, मनोज एंड अशोक मल्होत्रा, एंड थ्री ऑफ अस जस्ट हैविंग अ गुड पेड हॉलीडेज। तो आराम से, क्योंकि चांस ही नहीं मिल रहा था, मौका ही नहीं मिल रहा था आपको, कि एवरीबॉडी वाज परफॉर्मिंग एंड टीम वाज विनिंग। और जब कहते हैं ना विनिंग कॉम्बिनेशन कभी नहीं छेड़ना चाहिए बिल्कुल भी, एंड इतना अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस, यहाँ ना किसी की परफॉर्मेंस भी खराब नहीं है, टीम भी जीत रही है। और सडनली जब हम टीम मीटिंग के अंदर गए और ब्रेकफास्ट वहीं सनी भाई के कमरे में अरेंज होता था, तो अच्छा ऑमलेट, इतनी बड़ी ब्रेड लेके, आप बिलीव नहीं, 4 अंडों का ऑमलेट लेके मैं आराम से अपनी प्लेट पे खाने के लिए बिल्कुल तैयारी हुई। तो एकदम सडनली रॉजर वेंट टू सनी भाई एंड सेड he has an upset stomach. एंड मुझे इतना अभी तक याद है कि सिर्फ 1 मिनट की कन्वर्सेशन हुई है सनी भाई और रॉजर के बीच में। तो सनी भाई ने पूछा रॉजर से, सब लोग बैठे थे, कि आई श्योर कि यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू प्ले। ही सेड नहीं सनी भाई, मेरा काफी प्रॉब्लम है। इमीडिएटली विदाउट लुकिंग हियर और देयर, तो सीधा ही पॉइंटेड एट मी, यू आर प्लेइंग। मतलब मेरा जो ऑमलेट था ना वहीं का वहीं रहा प्लेट पे। तो सडनली 10 फरवरी से मतलब फरवरी के मिडिल से टूर्नामेंट शुरू हुआ, एंड आ गया, मार्च आ गया, यू हैव नॉट प्लेड अ गेम, एंड दैट यू आर गेटिंग अ चांस जस्ट 2 घंटे पहले आपको मालूम पड़ रहा है, दैट इज इंडिया पाकिस्तान गेम, एंड दैट इन फाइनल्स। तो उस समय आप यंग होते हो ना, आप हम सोचते हैं बैठ के, अरे भाई क्या प्रेशर गेम था, कुछ प्रेशर वैशर कुछ नहीं था। मतलब आप गए, अच्छा खेल रहे हो, ठीक है, मिड ऑफ पे खड़े होके जिम्पा ने कह दिया बाउंसर मारना है, मतलब किसी चीज की परवाह नहीं थी, और इतना सपोर्ट था। आई स्टिल रिमेम्बर दैट फाइनल गेम आया सर, कि मैं आया बॉलिंग करने के लिए, रमीज राजा बैटिंग कर रहा था और मैंने पहला विकेट लिया, एंड सडनली इमरान खान के दे वर 33 फॉर 3। क्या कपिल पाजी का स्पेल था उसमें, उफ, मतलब ऊपर से आपको इतना विश्वास है कि कपिल पाजी ऊपर से उड़ा देंगे 1-2 को, तो दिन अगर 1-2 विकेट्स गिर गई, इफ यू आर कमिंग एट नंबर 3 एज अ बॉलर, तो प्रेशर आपके ऊपर थोड़ा कम, एंड देन यू आर प्लेइंग द फर्स्ट गेम। और तीसरा विकेट मैंने लिया, रमीज राजा का बहुत ब्रिलियंट कैच पकड़ा स्क्वायर लेग के पास, तो 33 फॉर 3 इमरान खान केम इनटू बैट। तो मोहिंदर अमरनाथ मिड ऑफ पे खड़े थे, तो मेरे पास भागे आए, ये मुझे आते बोला दे इसको दे। मैं कहा जिम्पा ऊपर से जाएगा, नो बॉल हो जाएगा, इसे देना, 33 पे 3 है, एक कान के ऊपर थे इसके जोश। और पहला बॉल अगर आपने देखा हो वो रिप्ले, पहला बाउंसर मैंने मारा, हुक किया, सब कुछ लगा, ग्लब दुनिया, मतलब क्या अंपायर को हुआ, घबरा गए अंपायर। मतलब 33 पे 3 थे, 33 पे 4 होते हैं, और इमरान खान जावेद गॉट अ पार्टनरशिप ऑफ आई थिंक सम 100 रन पार्टनरशिप की थी उस मैच के अंदर इन दोनों ने। पहली बॉल पे इमरान आउट था। तो द थिंग वाज कि एक यंगस्टर अगर आया है मैच के अंदर और वो पहला मैच खेल रहा है, द एंटायर टीम इज बिहाइंड। सनी भाई हर ओवर में आकर आपके गले में हाथ डालकर आपको रन अप तक छोड़ने जा रहे हैं। मिड ऑफ पे महेंद्र अमरनाथ खड़े हैं, मिड ऑफ पे रवि शास्त्री इज देयर, एंड यू नो रवि भाई तो आपको चाबी देते रहेंगे, शाबाश तू सबसे अच्छा है, चिंता नहीं कर, मार उसके जोर से मार, यू आर सो क्विक, चाहे वो मोरी कर देगा। मतलब देखो, आप किसी बैट्समैन के बीच में से मोरी करो या ना करो, एक सीनियर प्लेयर आपको अगर आके एक यंगस्टर को ये बोलता है ना कि तू इतना तेज है कि मोरी कर देगा, तो आपकी जो कहते हैं ना, एक कपिल पाजी असम कहते हैं ना, गेंदबाज की पूंछ खड़ी हो जाती है, एंड यू आर रेडी टू गो। तो उस टीम में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या था कि लाइक एवरीबॉडी वाज बैकिंग एवरीबॉडी, और ऊपर से आपके पास विकेट कीपर सदानंद विश्वनाथ जैसा हो, तो 99% चीजें वैसी आपकी सॉल्व हो जाती है, बॉलर को बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है, विकेट कीपर अपने आप बोलता रहता है। ब्रिलियंट, क्या विकेट कीपिंग किया उस टूर्नामेंट में। मेरा रूममेट था, और अभी हम ऑन एयर है, ऐसा जिस दिन हम मिलेंगे ना तो विशी की बातें बताऊंगा। आई थॉट विशी वुड हैव बीन हियर टुडे, कि आज मजा आता है विशी। एंड फ्रॉम डे 1 till last he was my roommate. Oh, it's too good.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
ऑन एयर बोलने वाली चीजें नहीं है वो, मतलब और परफॉर्मेंस करके आना, उसके बाद धमाल, मतलब वो
वेरी कलरफुल पर्सनालिटी,
वेरी कलरफुल। मतलब मैं तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया गए पहली बार, इंग्लिश में हाथ तंग है, एंड देन यू हैव विशी अराउंड, कोई टेंशन कोई टेंशन नहीं है। मैं पंजाबी में भी बोल रहा हूँ तो दूसरा समझ रहा है क्योंकि विशी से भी तो वो टीम बहुत बहुत प्यारी थी। शाम को सब इकट्ठे हैं कहीं ना कहीं, और सनी भाई, आप जानते हो सनी भाई, और उस समय ऐसा उस समय नया नया गाना आया था, मुझे अभी तक याद है वो हमारा गाना बहुत बजता था, इंग्लिश का गाना था। हमें तो वर्डिंग जो समझ आने वाले वही समझ आए, वही सनी भाई ने समझाया था हमें, मनी फॉर नथिंग, चेक्स फॉर फ्री। वो नया औसत गाना आया था, तो यही डिस्कशन होता था, भाई जीतो सब कुछ, ये देखो गाना सुनो, मनी फॉर नथिंग, चेक्स फॉर फ्री, तो भाई जीतो। तो इतना टीम, हम तो बहुत छोटे थे।
अनुभव, आई थिंक डायर स्टेट सॉन्ग,
तो that was good fun। और वो पता ही नहीं लगा कि पहला मैच पाकिस्तान के साथ, दूसरा मैच we played against England, third match we played against Australia, tough sides we played, and semi-final we played against New Zealand, and then final again against Pakistan। तो good sides। और सबसे अच्छा उसमें क्या था, देखिए कितना वो टीम, यजुवेंद्र सर, ये मतलब जो लोग हमें सुन रहे होंगे कि उनको पता होना चाहिए कि कैप्टन आपके मैचेस के बीच में गैप है। हमें इंस्ट्रक्शंस थी यंगस्टर्स को, मैं था, मनोज था, सब जो नहीं भी खेल रहे थे और जो खेल भी रहे थे यंगस्टर्स, वो एंड मुझे अभी तक याद था, मैंने रिचर्ड हेडली को कभी देखा नहीं था। आई वेंट ऑन द वे टू सी रिचर्ड हेडली बॉलिंग। आप मैंने रॉडनी हॉग, आप मतलब प्लेयर्स के नाम बताओ, कौन सा प्लेयर उस समय वहां नहीं था? जोल गार्नर, माइकल होल्डिंग। हम लोग इनको देखने जाते थे कि पीछे से हमें अच्छी सीट्स मिलती थी कि व्हाट दे आर डूइंग। तो आपको यहाँ तक इंस्ट्रक्शंस भी मिलती थी, आप मैच नहीं खेल रहे, इफ यू आर इन मेलबर्न और मैच मेलबर्न में हो रहा है, गो एंड वॉच द मैच बिकॉज यू आर गोइंग टू लर्न समथिंग। तभी मैं कहता हूँ ना, हमारे टाइम के सीनियर्स बहुत ब्रिलियंट थे। आपको डंडा पड़ता था, लेकिन आपकी भलाई के लिए डंडा पड़ता था। आज जो हम लोग हैं, इतने साल, 10 साल 11 साल इंडिया के लिए खेले, ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ आवर सीनियर्स, बिकॉज उन्होंने इतना अच्छा गाइड किया हम लोगों को। और मैं 90% बैट्समैन बना हूं सिर्फ सनी भाई की वजह से। आयाज सर, अगर अनुभव, आई होप मैं ज्यादा नहीं बोल रहा, तो
बोलते रहिए सर, वेरी कलरफुल एनेक्डोट्स।
तो अयाज सर, ये स्टोरी माइट भी आपको भी ना मालूम हो, गद्दाफी स्टेडियम लाहौर में डेब्यू टेस्ट मैच, तो फॉलो ऑन हो रहा था। मोहिंदर अमरनाथ सामने खेल रहे थे, नंबर 10 बैटिंग करने पहुंचा मैं, और मुझे इंस्ट्रक्शंस थी, ऑब्वियसली इंस्ट्रक्शंस की बात ही नहीं, मोहिंदर अमरनाथ सामने खेल रहे हैं, तो आपको सिर्फ बैट लगाना था, और 6 रन चाहिए थे हमें फॉलो ऑन बचाने के लिए। और अजीम हफीज, वो लेफ्ट हैंड फास्ट बॉलर थे, हफीज डालना था, तो पता नहीं बैट कैसे मेरा साथ मिल गया, और इतना ब्रिलियंट चौका हुआ, तो 2 रन रह गए। तो मुझे गलतफहमी हो गई कि अरे चौका मारा है, काम खत्म, एक और चौका मारूंगा तो फॉलो ऑन बच जाएगा। अगला बॉल उसने अंदर मारा, डंडा मेरा निकल गया, ओ बाहर पड़ा। और लास्ट बैट्समैन मनिंदर सिंह, मैं ड्रेसिंग रूम के अंदर गया, 5 मिनट तो कोई बात नहीं हुई, 5 मिनट बाद 2 रन बन गए हमारे, फॉलो ऑन बच गया। तो सनी भाई ने मुझको बुलाया, मुझे कहते हैं, बेटा ये क्या था? तो अब हम क्या बोलेंगे, पहला टेस्ट में क्या सर, वो कह रहे, दिस इज द लास्ट टाइम आई बेट यू, मैं तुझे ये बता रहा हूँ, अगर मैंने तुझे ऐसा शॉट दोबारा खेलते देखा, दैट आई विल मेक श्योर दैट विल बी योर लास्ट मैच। भाई साहब, जमीन निकल गई पैर के नीचे से। अगर सनी भाई ने कह दिया ना, तो और नेक्स्ट मैच में नंबर 10 की जगह आई वाज सेंट नंबर 7 टू बैट। वो मैच एक इनिंग भी पूरी नहीं हो रही थी, 7 नंबर में मुझे बैटिंग पे भेजा गया, इसलिए कि जब मैं देखना चाहता हूं कि हाउ यू बैट। और मैं अब्दुल कादिर की बॉलिंग मैंने हेलमेट में खाई हुई है, फ्रंट फुट पे डिफेंस करने के लिए कि आउट होके नहीं जाना, आउट होके गया तो भाई टीम से बाहर हो जाओ। तो देखो, उसके बाद I got 100 international game, got near about thousands of runs in first class cricket, अगर उस दिन सनी भाई डंडा ना मारते तो मैं अपना वही आड़ा चलाता रहता और जिंदगी में इम्प्रूव ना कर पाता एज ए बैट्समैन। तभी मैं कहता हूँ ना, हमारे जो सीनियर्स थे ना, हैट्स ऑफ टू देम, दे रियली लुक्ड आफ्टर द यंगस्टर्स।
Wonderful anecdotes, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Singh, आप कुछ बोलना चाह रहे हैं?
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I want to continue on his room partner, Vishwanath Padaman. I think he was quite instrumental because behind the wicket, the amount of, the things that you could see him encouraging the whole team all throughout. But Chetan will be able to tell us a little bit more. I think he got Javed Miandad out also through behind the wicket than in front of the wicket. He was, I think there was a lot of, he instigated him quite a bit. Is it true?
Yes, वो तो बोलता है।
You're right.
मैंने कहा
If I'm looking at the scorecard, I have the scorecard up for reference. बोलते रहिए सर।
मैं वही मैंने पहले बोला ना कि अगर सदानंद विश्वनाथ जैसा विकेट कीपर आपके पास है ना, आपको बैट्समैन को बोलने की जरूरत ही नहीं, कुछ नहीं कहने की जरूरत। यू डोंट हैव टू स्लेच है, वो अपने आप पूरा कर लेगा सदानंद वहां से। एंड ही वाज लाइटनिंग क्विक, या मतलब जो स्टंपिंग की है, मुझे याद है ऑस्ट्रेलियन न्यूज़पेपर के अंदर सदानंद विश्वनाथ की फोटोग्राफ छपती थी स्टंपिंग करते हुए, लोग इतने दीवाने हो गए थे सदानंद विश्वनाथ के। और जो विकेट कीपिंग उसने की है कमाल की, और जावेद को आउट किया जो लक्ष्मण शिवराम कृष्णन ने, मतलब वो जो लेग स्पिन की हवा में बीट कर दिया जावेद, कोई 35-36 में खेल रहे थे, फाइनल की बात बता रहा हूँ। और इतना बुला उस समय सदानंद विश्वनाथ जावेद को कि मुझे लगता है कि जितनी क्रिकेट अभी तक जावेद ने खेली थी, इतना उसने पूरे इंटरनेशनल क्रिकेट में बोला नहीं होगा जो एक मैच में सुनने को मिला उसको सदानंद विश्वनाथ। तो ऐसा विकेट कीपर इज ए डिलाइट टू ए बॉलर। अभी मैंने कहा ना, देखो मैं आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि हमारे मेरे जो दूसरे विकेट कीपर्स थे वो वैसे नहीं थे, बट सदानंद वाज समथिंग डिफरेंट। एक तो सबसे बड़ी बात है कि देखो पाकिस्तान के साथ मैच है एंड सदानंद विश्वनाथ की इंग्लिश, कमाल की इंग्लिश की, भाई बैंगलोर का आदमी है, इंग्लिश तो मतलब ऐसे ही बोलता तो समझ ही नहीं आदों पे आती थी। तो कहाँ पाकिस्तानियों को उसकी आधी इंग्लिश समझ आती थी, तो उनको यही नहीं समझ आता तो बोल क्या रहा हूँ। तो it was fun. It was a brilliant wicket.
Just to continue, the other was, we have to realize Ravi Shastri's worth, because once he became a solid opener, we automatically got another slot for somebody else to fill in, because he was bowling extremely well. That was the thing. He was really bowling well, and Shivramakrishnan came into his own. I mean, he was the highest wicket taker as well. That ball he bowled to Javed was, I think, one of the most wonderful leg spin ball you would. And, I think those were the, talk about, as I said, you could look at the overall, not only the team, but the form that all of them were carrying and the experience they were carrying. So you had bowlers who were in form, batsmen who were in form, batsmen who had experience, and a good enough fielding side. So overall, when you look at it, is how you can compare a side over the years.
And that's exactly why. Yes, sir.
I'll just kind of try and supplement what both of them have said, and we are also running short of time, I would imagine. So actually, India went to Australia on the back of a very disappointing performance against David Gower's team. We lost that Test series unexpectedly. We were supposed to win. David Gower's team was not a strong England team which came, but they beat us. And it was a traumatic situation for a lot of the players, including Sunil Gavaskar, the captain. And how Indian cricket used to be. There was always the pressure from the selectors, and you had no idea. The insecurity of the players could be high. In that situation, to marshal the team, all the team members to respond the way they did, I think was quite remarkable. I think the idea, starting off from the comparison, I think Ravi made the point quite, with understanding that the 85 team would give the current team a run for its money. Run for its money means it will compete hard. But I think it can be equally said that you could twist it and turn it around and say the current team would give the 85 team a run for its money. Because you give a good team a run for its money, and that team had won the title. So, I get back to the point. In terms of individual players, the current team, and perhaps a bunch of players, so many of them, they're fantastic. And also remember, in 85, a lot of the young cricketers or the older cricketers hadn't grown up in a one-day environment. Maybe Chetan Sharma, L. Sivaramakrishnan, Azharuddin, Sadanand Vishwanath had some idea of growing up into a one-day, scenario. But guys like Gavaskar and Mohinder Amarnath and Madan Lal and even Roger Binney, they played their ODI matches when they were 27, 28, maybe a little older. So for them to come to terms and put up such a sterling show remains memorable. I can tell you one thing, these are my last words on this, that if there was social media in those days, if there was cable TV penetration in those days, like there is the extent of television, that team would be never to be forgotten. At least for guys like me, never to be forgotten. But if the media kind of spreads the message and the gospel of a performance or a team or a collection of individuals, it was fantastic to watch.
Absolutely, Ayaz. I think like all the points that you mentioned right now beautifully sum up what the sentiments that all our guests have had. Yes, Mr. Singh, tell me.
One more thing is what we all forget is that Sunil Gavaskar is a captain, nature part. He's a great captain. He was a great thinker, and I think that came out very much in that 1985 victory because he's always, as Chetan said, he's got a lot of things in mind. But his one problem as a captain was that if his team didn't perform according to how he wanted it, or an individual didn't perform, he would sometimes become very depressed about it. Because he wanted everyone to have that same sort of standard that he's good for. And in that captaincy that he was doing along there, whatever he was, whatever changes he wanted, whatever was happening, it was happening according to his plans. And I think the captaincy made a big difference as well.
We had momentarily lost Mr. Chetan Sharma, but I'm glad he's back because I think the next anecdote that I'm about to share, with which I'm going to conclude this panel discussion, is relevant for him. So rumor has it, Chetan Sharma ji, कि मैच के पहले ड्रेसिंग रूम में कुछ चर्चा चल रही थी एंड कपिल पाजी ने कहा था कि अगर वो गाड़ी जीतते हैं, अगर वो चैंपियन ऑफ चैंपियंस बनते हैं, तो he'll end up selling the car. 25% of the proceeds वो रखेंगे and the rest can be distributed amongst all the members of the squad. Then Mr. Mohinder Amarnath, Jimmy sir कहते हैं यार जिसको मिलेगी मिलेगी, right? इतना क्या complicate करना. And then Ravi Shastri says, and I'll have the quote on the screen right now, if I win it, I am keeping the car and I can only share the stepney, in classic Ravi Shastri fashion.
That is typical Ravi.
He didn't share that as well.
और मुझे अभी तक याद है कि सब मस्ती कर रहे थे और जीतने के बाद और जैसे कूद रहे थे गाड़ी के ऊपर सब लोग एंड ये भूल गए थे बिकॉज इतने छोटे थे हम लोग, अभी आइडिया नहीं था कि एक गाड़ी मिलेगी, इंडिया पहुंचेगी कैसे और पहुंचेगी कौन पहुंचाएगा, पर हमें लगा कि यही गाड़ी मिली है, यही पहुंचेगी इंडिया. तो हम कूद रहे थे कि रवि भाई इतनी खराब कर देंगे कि आपको चलाने का दिल ही नहीं करेगा इसके लिए. तो जब सारा कुछ खत्म हो गया, शाम को पार्टी थी कमरे के अंदर, तो मैं कहा रवि भाई ये गाड़ी को हमने स्पाइक से मार दी है, पता है स्पाइक से मार के रख बेटा, नई गाड़ी मिलेगी, चिंता नहीं कर. तो हमें कुछ आइडिया नहीं था. इट वाज गुड फन.
Splendid. Gentlemen, it's been a marvelous discussion. Thank you so much for adding your insights, your candid thoughts, sharing very, very interesting and colorful anecdotes throughout the session. I think towards the end, Ayaz summed up everyone's sentiments beautifully by saying that both teams will give each other a run for its money. Both teams are stellar in their own ways, but perhaps the consistency and the big tournaments won by the 1985 side may perhaps sway the argument in their favor, but at the same time will be a stellar contest between both sides nonetheless. Brilliant, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for this this live session on One Play Sports. For those of you who are watching, Please be sure to subscribe to the One Play Sports India Facebook page. Check out our Hello page. Check out our One Play Sports main Facebook page and various other social media platforms that we're present on. We'll keep having such discussions every single week. In fact, every single day of every single week. Thank you so much, Mr. Chetan Sharma. Thank you so much, Mr. Yajurvindra Singh. And thank you so much, Ayaz, for joining us again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Until next time, signing off from One Play Sports.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.